So I was sitting here thinking about Lisa and inviting me here to speak and how God must have a sense of humor. As far as the topic that she had selected that she wanted me to talk about was enabling, and I probably have been the worst enabler of all time. So you didn't know that, but God knows that. So the funny thing was, even looking back over time, there's a reason why people become like they do, and I understand that now. But the enabling thing I've done for years and years and years, and I'm still working on it right now. And God is probably using this opportunity to help me also. So I'm grateful for that. And in that, the whole addiction thing, it's funny how God just brings things around and puts things together in a sense that you look back and say, well, God had a plan all along, even though I didn't understand how I got here, and everything kind of holds together. Back in early 2012, me and Sierra had lost her father. We were married almost 10 years, and he had an addiction problem. I had a different addiction problem, but mine wasn't as bad, of course. In my mind at the time, I didn't see it as a problem because I was functioning and he was not. And I think I did everything wrong that you should do whenever someone has addiction, but I did at the time what I only understood. And so when someone has an addiction, you can't fix them yourself. You can't make them do anything. And I think that's just part of the frustration that I experienced that time, was like I just wanted him to stop. And you have to have understanding, like you had said, an understanding about it. And if you don't know, you don't know. And I didn't know. I was just like frustrated, like just stop. If you want to, you just stop, that's all. And it didn't happen. And unfortunately, we did lose him in early 2012. But God brought us down here, and I met my lovely now husband. We've been married 7 years here in November. And interesting enough, 5 years after my previous husband's death, I'm in a peer recovery coach class graduating. And I would have never planned that. It didn't even happen. Like, I didn't plan it myself, didn't think about it, just kind of happened. And that's how God works, as we know. So the biggest thing is to really, in my opinion, as far as enabling and praying about enabling over this past week, and really understanding it, because I'm thinking I gotta understand this to present this someone who's struggled with enabling for years. And it's not even just with people with addictions, it's people with any kind of self-sabotage or struggle that you see and you want to save them, and particularly your children. And I've had that with my children. It's been very difficult to see some choices they make, and I think a lot of it is you want to rush in and save them and fix it or prevent something bad from happening, of course. But unfortunately, in the long run, enabling, I have found, just in understanding and being in prayer about it this past week, is it really hurts the person that you're trying to help, because sometimes they have to get to a certain point to figure it out themselves, and you saving them is not helping that process. It's actually hindering that process. So what we're saying about we wrestle not against flesh and blood, the spiritual battle is very, very real. And this is just one scope of many things, but it affects everyone. And so when you have this enabling thing, and you have this family dynamic that's affected by drugs and alcohol or any kind of issue, it is not just the person going through it. It's the person going through it and those close to him. And if you're not careful with the enabling, you can become a second victim. And so it's very clear to me that we have to have boundaries to protect ourselves, our health, our well-being, because we can't help anybody else if we're a mess, and we end up in a mess. We can end up in a mess if we're not careful of our own. It might not be necessarily drugs, but it doesn't have to be in order to destroy you. And the enemy is very crafty. It says in Genesis 3:1, the serpent is more subtle than any beast of the field, and he knows each of us. He studied us for years. He knows us very well. He knows what will work on us. And it might not be addiction to substances for some, but it's definitely something for each one of us. And the enemy knows that. One book I would highly suggest, and I just happened to get this, and I've been reading it off and on, is by Dr. Henry Cloud and Dr. John Townsend, is boundaries. When to say yes, when to say no, to take control of your life. And so if you are a peer coach or a loved one of someone else who has some sort of struggle or addiction, this is a helpful resource. It's written by Christian authors, a lot of scripture throughout, which makes perfect sense, and you can see what it's saying will help you with working with people and also keeping yourself where you need to be so you can stay sound in the process. So the biggest thing for me, I guess I want to point out today, is the important part of self-care in the enabling. It's one thing to help, it's a different thing to enable. Helping, I guess enabling is more like doing something for someone they should be doing themselves. And helping is clearly helping someone who has a genuine need that's going to in the end better them. And so I appreciate you having me here. I'm not really good at speaking in front of people, don't really like it, but I just wanted to share my experience with enabling. And I have some regrets with my husband of what I could have done differently, but I know God doesn't want me to sit there and live in that regret, but learn from everything, because I've learned a whole lot for the last couple of years in how God has each of us grow in our own process, and if you have a relationship with Him, He will help you change and grow in just a variety of different ways that He only knows. I can't even say He did this, and this. I don't even know how He does what He does, because He's God and I'm not. But enabling is definitely, this book will actually tell you pretty much everything about it, and the Bible, because the scriptures are all there too. Of course, it gives us every kind of resource for every kind of situation or thing that plagues us in this world. And that's all I have. Thank you for having me.